A man stands in the desert at 5:29 in the morning. He built something no human had ever built before. In 3 seconds, it will either save millions of lives or prove that mankind just invented its own extinction. He doesn't know which yet. Neither do we. This isn't a war story. This is a story about a secret so dangerous. The US government spent more money on it than anything in history and didn't tell their own vice president. A story where the smartest men on Earth built a weapon they were terrified of finishing, and terrified of failing to finish first. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how a group of scientists, soldiers, and one broken genius created the most powerful weapon in human history, in total secrecy, and why almost every single one of them regretted it. You'll also see why this story still controls the world you live in today. Stay till the end. The last part changes everything. History isn't lying to you. It's just leaving out the parts that would terrify you. This is Timeline Secrets. The world is at war. A war so big it doesn't feel survivable. Germany is racing to build a bomb powerful enough to erase cities. America is terrified they'll get there first. So the US does something insane. They gather the best physicists on the planet, hide them in the desert, cut them off from the outside world, and give them one impossible task: build a weapon that doesn't exist yet, using science that's barely 5 years old. They call it the Manhattan Project. Almost nobody knows it's happening. Not the public, not most of Congress, not even some of the men's own wives. They pick a leader, a quiet, chain-smoking physicist named J. Robert Oppenheimer. Brilliant, fragile, obsessed. He builds a secret town in the New Mexico desert called Los Alamos, and it doesn't exist on any map. Scientists arrive with fake names. Their mail is read. Their phone calls are monitored. They are literally disappearing from their own lives. And the man in charge of security has one job: make sure nothing and no one leaks. Because if this secret gets out, the war could be lost overnight. These aren't soldiers. They're mathematicians, chemists, 25-year-old geniuses pulled straight out of university. Many don't fully know what they're building until they're already trapped inside it. Some believe they're saving the world from a Nazi bomb. Others start to feel a different kind of fear. Because deep in the calculations, one physicist runs a number that terrifies the entire room. What if the bomb doesn't just explode? What if it never stops? A small team runs the math on something almost too horrifying to say out loud. Could this explosion ignite the atmosphere itself? Could one single test, set the entire planet on fire? They calculate the odds. They decide it's unlikely enough. They proceed anyway. Let that sit for a second. They weren't sure it wouldn't end the world, and they built it anyway. Years pass in secrecy. Money disappears into the project, enough to build entire cities, poured into a weapon most of the country doesn't know exists. Wives think their husbands work government desk jobs. Kids grow up in a fenced town with armed guards, thinking it's normal. Meanwhile, in Europe, the war shifts. Germany surrenders. The reason they built this bomb just disappeared. So why do they keep building it? This is the moment the story turns from science into conscience. Some scientists want to stop. They say the original threat is gone. Why build a weapon this terrifying if the enemy that scared us into it no longer exists? But there's still a war in the Pacific. Thousands of soldiers are still dying every week. And a new question enters the room. Do we use it to end the war fast? Or do we just prove to ourselves we're capable of the unthinkable? They pick a date, a place, a name for the test: Trinity. No one knows what will happen when they press the button. Some scientists place bets, literally, on whether the explosion will be a dud or the end of the state of New Mexico. One of them bets it might destroy the entire atmosphere. He is not joking. 5:29 a.m. The countdown ends. For a fraction of a second, nothing. Then the desert turns brighter than the sun. A fireball rises taller than mountains. The heat is felt from miles away. Windows shatter in towns that were never told a test was happening. Oppenheimer watches in silence. Later, he'll say a line from an ancient text ran through his mind in that exact moment. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. He didn't feel triumphant. He felt afraid of what he had just proven humanity could do. the test works. The bomb is real. But almost immediately, before it's even used, some of the same men who built it start begging the government not to use it. They write letters. They warn about what this weapon could unleash on the world for generations. Their warnings are ignored. The decision is no longer in the hands of scientists. It's in the hands of politicians and generals. The war in the Pacific isn't slowing down. Military leaders believe an invasion of Japan could cost hundreds of thousands of lives on both sides. So a decision is made that will define the next 80 years of human history. 2 names are chosen. 2 cities. Neither city has any idea what's coming. We're not going to give you numbers here. Numbers don't make you feel anything. Instead, imagine an ordinary morning. People going to work. Kids walking to school. A city that has no idea it's about to become a warning to the entire world. Then, in an instant, that morning simply stops existing. Survivors later describe shadows burned into walls, outlines of people who were standing there 1 second before. This is the moment history split in 2, before the bomb and after it. When the news breaks publicly, most of America doesn't feel guilt. They feel relief. The war may finally be over. But inside Los Alamos, something else is happening. The same scientists who spent years desperate to finish this bomb are now falling apart from what they finished. Oppenheimer meets with the president not long after. He says something that stuns the room. He says he feels like he has blood on his hands. The president is reportedly furious. He doesn't want to hear it. Because here's the terrifying truth this story exposes. The men who built the bomb weren't monsters. They were brilliant, ordinary people who thought they were racing to save the world, and instead became the reason it changed forever. Almost overnight, the entire meaning of power on Earth changes. Nations no longer measure strength only in soldiers or ships. They measure it in whether they have the bomb or don't. And that single shift creates a new kind of fear that still exists in every country on the planet today. Here's the part most people never connect. The Manhattan Project didn't just end a war. It created the modern world's entire balance of power. Every tense standoff between nuclear nations since then, every no one presses the button because everyone loses standoff, traces back to that one test in the desert. The scientists who built it to end one war accidentally created the fear that has prevented a third world war ever since. Terrifying, but true. Here's what this story really teaches us, and it has nothing to do with bombs. It's about how easily brilliant people can convince themselves that, just this once, the ends justify the means. Every person in that desert believed they were the good guys. Every one of them was trying to save lives. And what they built the single most destructive tool in human history. The lesson isn't science is dangerous. The lesson is, the moment you stop asking should we, and only ask can we, that's the moment history stops trusting you. That question didn't disappear in 1945. It's the same question behind AI, biotechnology, and every powerful tool being built right now. Oppenheimer spent the rest of his life trying to control the very thing he created. He warned governments. He argued against nuclear expansion. Some tried to silence him for it. The man who gave humanity ultimate power spent his final years terrified of what he'd unleashed. That's not a science story. That's a human story about genius, fear, and the price of being first. So here's the question this story leaves you with. If you were in that room, if you had the power to build something that could save the world or destroy it, would you have said yes? Comment yes if you would have joined the project, or no if you would have walked away. And if this story hit you the way it hit me, subscribe, because next week, we're telling the story of the man who tried to stop the bomb from ever being used, and almost succeeded. You don't want to miss that one.